Holy Motors is an extremely enigmatic film by Leos Carax. Many have speculated that the film is entirely about cinema itself. While there definitely are numerous references to cinema, I believe there are additional themes at play. The director himself even says,
So cinema is the language, but it's not about cinema.
though it's not as simple as it's about life and not about films, there is an intrinsic connection between art and life, especially in Holy Motors. Monsieur Oscar receives different assignments throughout the day, each one requiring him to become a different character in a different situation. The name Oscar comes from the director's name, but it can also refer to the Academy Awards. Indeed, acting and filmmaking are prominent themes, and the assignments seem to cover the different genres pretty well, ranging from documentary to science fiction to drama to musical and thriller. Not to mention the very specific and ostentatious camera techniques that accompany the different genres, like cinema verite, slow motion, quick cuts, and swooping melodramatic camera movements. About halfway into the film, a man, presumably Oscar's boss, has a discussion with him about how cameras are shrinking.
Quand j'étais jeune, elles étaient plus lourdes que nous. Ensuite, elles sont devenues plus petites que nos têtes.
Interestingly, Oscar says that he's having trouble believing in his own acting because the cameras are now invisible. This is almost ironic because, if anything, not having a bulky camera in the way would help one to immerse oneself into the scene. But of course, in this film, nothing is as it seems. The absence of a visible camera and the absence of a director in all their omniscience can be compared to the absence of God. The shrinking camera is an analogy for the decreasing influence of God in our lives as we reach an increasingly postmodern, ambiguous, and agnostic age. It doesn't have to be strictly God in the spiritual sense. It can just be a purpose. Nowadays, in much of the Western world, it is commonly accepted that neither God, nor the state, nor your parents have too much of a say on how you choose to live your life. That responsibility falls almost entirely on you. The good thing is, you get to experiment with different roles throughout life, but you also get to wonder, if there's no intrinsic purpose, then what's the point of life? Existentialism is a major theme in Holy Motors, and ever since its inception, philosophers from Kierkegaard to Camus have asked, if there's no purpose in life, then why don't we just commit suicide? Suicide is prevalent within the vignettes of the film, most obviously in Jean's suicide as the character of Eva. As well, one of the characters Oscar plays is a man on his deathbed. The beggar woman implicitly wonders why, despite her misery, she still goes on. In fact, she's afraid of not dying soon enough. In two assignments, Oscar's character kills another character seemingly played by Oscar himself. This is interesting because not all characters are played by an Oscar lookalike, but the characters he kills are. It could be a visual representation of a morphing identity. We take on many different roles throughout life, and some of them are so disparate that it requires the killing off of our old selves, or an aspect of ourselves. Additionally, he might be flirting with the idea of suicide. The man in black in the limo, perhaps representing the death drive, asks Oscar what makes him carry on.
Qu'est-ce qui vous pousse à continuer, Oscar?
Pour la beauté du geste.
La beauté, on dit qu'elle est dans l'œil de celui qui regarde.
Alors si personne ne regarde plus.
They're referring to acting, of course, but it's also an analogy for life. Devoid of an ultimate purpose, an omniscient beholder in the form of God, or an audience, why do we suffer through a string of situations that, added together, don't even mean anything? It's no surprise that Holy Motors was not made with the audience's comprehension as a high priority. As humans, we expect our films to mean something. We expect our lives to mean something. Monsieur Oscar exists in all these roles and puts us all into all these roles, but they don't amount to an actual plot. We wonder, why then is he acting? What is it all for? Even the limousines don't understand their purpose in life, and they're man-made machines.
On devient caduc.
One limo fears they're becoming inadequate, and the others ask, inadequate for what? Even manufactured machines have existential crises. It must be worse for humans. The link between humans and machines is made early on when Carax uses his finger as a key. A machine is just a complex tool used to perform any kind of work. The human body, as a piece of complex machinery, performs various kinds of work. We go through life taking all sorts of situations seriously, as if we expect punishment for poor performance, much like how a child fears punishment from a parent. But there is no audience who tells you if you did a good job. There's no God who cares.
Je serais punie?
Ah oui. Ta punition, ma pauvre Angèle, c'est d'être toi.
Life itself is the punishment, but fortunately it's sustained by the holy motor of the life drive, represented by Selene, who wears white. By the way, I looked up the name Selene, and its Latin root, caelum, means heaven. While the man asks dreary philosophical questions, Selene constantly reminds Oscar of his next appointment, and reminds him to eat, to take care of his health, and to laugh. At the end of the day, she gives him some money and a place to sleep, which is infuriatingly unsatisfying to the audience, but motivation enough for another day's worth of work, another day of life. The alternative is grim, for even the limos are afraid of the junkyard. Plus, as Monsieur Oscar says,
Qui peut dire si on rira dans l'au-delà?
although we're the main characters in a theater for the blind, we must carry on for the beauty of the act. Thanks for watching.